It is indeed a great pleasure for me to welcome all of you to another exclusive Indonesian Coal Roundtable export series presented by APBI Learning Center. In today's title, Assessing China's Appetite for Coal Import Post-COVID-19 Pandemic. This webinar is our weekly series, and today's session we will be discussing and focusing on China's coal market. Today's webinar is actually our last series for export this month. We're kind of wrapping it up with Indonesia's biggest coal export destination, which is China. So we're saving the best for last. All right, to take advantage of the time, pada kesempatan ini, I'd like to call upon and introduce our speakers. Saya ingin memperkenalkan terlebih dahulu para pembicara yang sudah hadir pada hari ini. First, our special guest, His Excellency, the Honorary Pak Djauhari Oratmangun, Indonesian Ambassador to the People's Republic of China and Mongolia. Selamat pagi, Pak Djauhari. Oke, selanjutnya we have Pak Henry Tamrin, selaku Wakil Ketua Umum dari APBI yang juga membawahi bidang marketing dan logistik. Selamat pagi, Pak Henry.
Selamat pagi semua, selamat pagi Pak Dubes.
Pagi.
Next, all the way from Beijing, we have Professor Su Chenrong. She is the Secretary General of Technical Committee of World Coal Association, as well as the Director General of China National Coal Association. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Selanjutnya, ada Pak Jusnan Ruslan. Beliau adalah Direktur Pemasaran dan Logistik dari PT Indo Tambang Raya Megah. Dan Pak Fry Kris Kurniawan selaku Senior Trader dari Trafigura. Selamat pagi Bapak-Bapak.
Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi.
Last but not least, we have these two wonderful ladies from IHS Market, Mbak Diana Putri and Miss Kiara Tong. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you once again to all of our speakers for your participation, effort, and support for today's webinar. Sebelum saya serahkan ke moderator untuk melanjutkannya, saya ingin menginfokan bagi Bapak Ibu yang hari ini ingin berpartisipasi dalam diskusi dan ingin bertanya kepada para panelis, mohon menuliskan tanggapan atau pertanyaannya di kolom Q&A instead of kolom chat. Dan jika memungkinkan juga untuk menyebutkan nama panelis yang ditujunya. So for those of you who would like to participate in today's discussion, please drop your questions and or response in the Q&A column instead of the chat column. And if possible, to also include the panelist name that you're giving the question to. All right, I think we're still filling up the participants, but we're ready to start the webinar. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the discussion over to our moderator. Everybody, the famous, the one and only, our Executive Director, Pak Hendra Sinadia. Pak Hendra Sinadia, the floor is yours. Enjoy the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, selamat pagi, ni hao.
Ni hao.
Yang terhormat, His Excellency Bapak Djauhari Oratmangun, Indonesian Ambassador to People Republic of China and Mongolia, and other panelists, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, and all the participants in our webinar export series focused on China. Thank you for joining us, our second series of the seminar. For your information, this is the third seminar that we have with Indonesian ambassadors in several destination coal export destination country. In the past, within past 2 months, we have 3 seminars, webinar with Indonesian ambassadors. First, we have with the Indonesian ambassador to India, where we discuss potential and opportunity of the Indonesian exporter to India amidst pandemic COVID-19, and also after discussion with the India's ambassador, Indonesian ambassador to India, we have also a discussion with Indonesian ambassador to Vietnam, also to explore potential market coal export to the Southeast Asian country neighbor in Vietnam. And today, the Indonesian Coal Roundtable, we discuss especially on exports focused on China. And for your information, Indonesian Coal Roundtable, organized by APBI, Indonesian Coal Mining Associations, to provide benefit to our members And the topics is ranging from export. We have also the DMO series, and we have also the topics on reclamation, sustainable development, fiscal and legal issue, etc. And today also we're welcoming not only our members, but we have our colleagues, non-members APBI, who are joining us today, including representative from Central Bank of Indonesia. So the second series on export is very important discussion today. This is the continuation of our Indonesian Coal Mining Association commitment as a partner to the government to work together with the government to boost the relations between Indonesian and other coal exporting countries such as Vietnam, the Philippines, also South Korea, India, Japan, and others. And we've been meeting with all the embassies during within the past 3 years under the leadership of our chairman, Pak Pandu Syahrir. Particularly talking with our close relation with the Indonesian embassies in overseas. In particular, we have to mention the China Indonesian embassy in Beijing under the assistance of His Excellency Pak Djauhari Oratmangun. We have been working closely with the embassy in boosting close relation between Indonesian and China's coal miners. And this effort has been materialized in the signing of the MOU between the Indonesian Coal Mining Association and CNCA, signed in Jakarta on May 2019. And also the embassy facilitated the meeting between Indonesian Coal Mining Association and CNCA in Shanghai also last year. And last one, we also signed an MOU with China Import Coal Trader Associations in the second China International Expo in Shanghai, November last year. It's all facilitated by the Indonesian Embassy in Beijing. So in these occasions, on behalf of Board of Indonesian Coal Mining Association, chaired by Mr. Pandu Syahrir, we'd like to appreciate all the hard work and good cooperation from the Indonesian Embassy in Beijing. Okay, talking about China. China is a very important country with Indonesia. We're talking about coal. The two countries play major role. China is the biggest coal producer as well as the biggest coal importer, while Indonesia is the biggest exporter of thermal coal in terms of the volume. So it's very important meeting that we have today. And also, if we look at the relations between Indonesia and China, this year, 2020, marks the 70th anniversary of Indonesia diplomatic relation with China. So the two countries very important, not only on the coal trading, but also with the other industry and business sector as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if we talking about the coal export to China also, we have to look at the China condition. We see China on the path of the recovery of their economy following the national lockdown due to the pandemic COVID-19. If we see the indicators of the economy in China, it's very positive. The growth in the second quarter is positive, more than 3.2%. It's a reversal of the slump or decline, minus 6.8 in the first quarter. So we see some big hope on all the overall world watching the recovery of the economy China, because it's will guide the world economy in the futures. And then the PMI, Purchasing Manager Index in China in the second quarter also rose above 50 points, which is very encouraging indeed. However, if we look at those positive indicators, do not correlate directly with the coal demand. We see the demand is declining in China, and then there is a big concern among coal exporters, especially Indonesia as the biggest coal exporter in China, that China will probably limit their coal import in the futures. On the other hand, on the supply side from Indonesia and also other countries is still strong. So this is the situation, oversupply situation, that push the the coal price is at the lowest level that we have seen in the 10 years. So with this webinar, we would like to listen the view from Indonesian government represented by our ambassador, Pak Djauhari, and also we'd like to listen from the perspective of the coal miners in China, in this case represented by Professor Su Chuanrong, and then also the analysts from IHS Market, and also the perspective from coal exporter and coal traders. So without further ado, I'd like to give the next space to Pak Henry Tamrin. He's going to give the opening remarks from Indonesian Coal Mining Association on behalf of the board. Okay, Pak Henry Tamrin, Vice Chairman of the APBI, please, Pak.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Hendra. Saya mohon izin deliver dalam bahasa Indonesia, boleh ya?
Silakan, Pak.
Okay, first of all, I apologize that I'll deliver this opening speech in Bahasa, and probably during the question and answer, I'll be very happy to talk in English or even in Mandarin. Mohon izin Pak Dubes.
Silakan Pak Henry.
Ya, salam kenal. Terakhir bertemu sebenarnya di acara Expo Shanghai. Waktu itu penandatanganan kontrak. Kebetulan saya duduk di belakang Bapak.
Oke. Iya.
Ya,
wajahnya
familiar Pak. Jadi pada kesempatan berbahagia ini, saya mewakili segenap pengurus dan anggota mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Pak Djauhari dan juga kepada Bapak, Ibu, Saudara semua yang hadir pada kesempatan ini. Kami sangat bersyukur ya, karena di tengah pandemik ini kita bisa mengangkat satu tema yang sangat penting, yaitu Assessing China Appetite for Coal Import, ya, setelah post-COVID-19 pandemic ini. Kalau kita melihat pada kondisi market saat ini, memang saat ini ekspor batubara sedang lesu, Pak. Harga tertekan, ya, semua indeks batubara itu sedang turun. Sebab utamanya ya karena memang ada penurunan permintaan. Dalam pembicaraan dengan banyak pembeli ya, dan juga melihat kebijakan pemerintah negara lain, mau tidak mau kita harus bilang bahwa ke depan memang kita dalam survival mode. Ya, setiap perusahaan dan juga setiap pemerintah akan melakukan apapun juga untuk melindungi kepentingan perusahaan dan kepentingan negara masing-masing. Proteksionisme, ya, proteksionisme udah sesuatu yang tidak bisa dihindarkan lagi. Belakangan ini kita juga mendengar isu tentang import kuota dari Tiongkok. Mengenai kondisi Tiongkok, seperti yang dijelaskan tadi oleh Pak Hendra mengenai GDP, PMI, semua amazing lah, ya, baik sekali. Ya, Tiongkok berhasil menjalankan satu keseimbangan antara mengkontrol penyebaran virus COVID ini dengan juga memberikan stimulus ekonomi. Dan bisa kita lihat dengan meningkatnya produktivitas kerja, juga mereka membuka pasar yang menjadi kunci utama dari pemulihan ekonomi. Contoh yang mengesankan bisa saya ambil adalah contohnya adalah industri baja Tiongkok. Industri baja Tiongkok utilization rate-nya itu di pertengahan Mei itu mencapai 90%. Ini sudah lebih tinggi daripada kondisi beberapa bulan sebelumnya. Utilization rate yang tinggi ini menunjukkan bahwa memang kebutuhan baja itu tinggi sekali di Tiongkok. Dan kita juga bisa melihat harga baja ini saat ini bahkan sudah melebihi $435 per ton. Untuk mendukung industri baja ini, impor Tiongkok untuk batubara coking coal itu juga mengalami pertumbuhan yang luar biasa. Year on year kita mencatat sampai bulan Mei ini sudah naik 11 juta ton. Dan sebagian juga batu baranya dari Indonesia untuk kebutuhan industri baja ini. Nah, untuk batu bara thermal, rata-rata konsumsi batu bara di PLTU di coastal di China juga sudah meningkat. Di dalam catatan kami sudah meningkat 17% di second quarter dibanding quarter sebelumnya. Nah, import batu bara Tiongkok ini sejauh ini sudah meningkat bahkan di thermal coal 19 juta ton year to date tahun ini. Bagaimana kita Indonesia bisa melihat peluang ini? Ya, tadi dikatakan Pak Hendra bahwa kedua negara ini sangat tinggi ketergantungannya. Tiongkok mengimpor batu bara dari Indonesia tahun lalu kurang lebih adalah 60% dari kebutuhan impor mereka. Sementara untuk Indonesia, Tiongkok adalah 30% dari tujuan ekspor batu bara kita. Nah, menurut pengamatan kami memang impor Tiongkok ini akan terus berlangsung, akan terus berlanjut. Kualitas batu bara dan harga keekonomian kita itu yang lebih baik memang dibanding dengan batu bara domestik di Tiongkok sendiri. Ya, sehingga menempatkan batu bara Indonesia pada posisi yang sangat penting. Nah, next step apa nih? Kita pikir kita tidak boleh pesimis lah. Memang harga sekarang lagi kurang baik, tapi sebagaimana komoditas lainnya semuanya itu ada siklus. Batu bara tetap sangat dibutuhkan dunia sebagai sumber energi yang murah untuk mendukung industri manufaktur dan servis, yang juga meningkatkan daya saing industri itu di kompetisi global. Dan melihat juga mungkin bukan hanya sisa akhir tahun ini, tapi kita juga mesti melihat beberapa tahun ke depan. Ya, banyak perusahaan saat ini sudah menyiapkan budget tahun 2021. Jadi kita perlu melihat lebih jauh ke depan. Di tengah mewabahnya COVID, kita sangat perlu yang pertama untuk mengantisipasi tindakan protektif dari negara-negara tujuan ekspor komoditas kita, termasuk China. Kita harus mencari jalan keluar yang terbaik untuk melindungi ekspor batubara Indonesia. Dan yang kedua adalah kita harus menyiapkan diri. Ya, kita berbenah, ada hal apa lagi yang perlu kita lakukan, yang controllable tentunya. Apakah kita menekan biaya produksi, apakah kita perlu mengurangi jumlah produksi, ya, sehingga saat pandemik ini berlalu kita dapat bangkit dan lebih baik lagi di masa depan. Sebagai mitra pemerintah, APBI dan semua anggotanya tentu sangat berkepentingan untuk memberikan masukan yang konstruktif bagi semua stakeholder demi kebaikan dan kemajuan kita bersama. Seterusnya saya serahkan kembali ke Pak Hendra selaku moderator untuk acara webinar ini. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Pak Henry Tamrin. Thank you Pak Henry Tamrin. He is Vice Chairman of the Indonesian Coal Mining Associations, overseeing marketing and logistics. Some of the key points that he mentioned earlier, that the course Indonesian is and China is very important countries in the coal. China import about close to 60% of their thermal coal import from Indonesia, while export to China constitute about 30% of Indonesia total thermal coal. And then the companies, Indonesian coal miners, now in the pandemic, they now is preparing for the next year budget of coal. They need to assess the potential opportunity in China and other exporting countries. Of course, we noted also the protectionist measures taken by not only China but other countries, including Indonesia, and they want to develop or protect their domestic industry in the pandemic. But still, we need to, boosting our inter-countries relations on trade, including the coal. Oke, tanpa mempersingkat waktu, berikutnya kami akan serahkan ke Duta Besar Indonesia, His Excellent Pak Djauhari Oratmangun. Before assigned to the post in Beijing, Pak Djauhari also served as the Indonesian ambassador to Russia, another major coal producer country. So it's a very honor to have you, Pak Djauhari, Selamat pagi, Pak Djauhari is joining us from Jakarta ya, Pak Djauhari ya. Oke, silakan ya Pak Djauhari.
Ya, Pak Henry, thank you, Pak Hendra. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm joining now by our Deputy Chief of Mission, Wakil Dubes istilahnya di Beijing, with Pak Dino, Mr. Dino Kusnadi, with our Trade Attaché, Ibu Marina, those two good-looking men and ladies. And they're very serious because they're the one who is going to answer the questions, not me. I'm just. So anyway, thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me address first my dear friend, Secretary General of Technical Committee, World Coal Association, and Executive Director of China National Coal Association, Ibu Miss Su Chuanrong. How are you, Madam? Looking forward to seeing you soon in Shanghai. And of course, Pak Henry Tamrin, our Deputy Chairman, Marketing and Logistic of Indonesian Coal Mining Association. Selamat pagi, Pak Henry, distinguished senior trader, Trafigura Indonesia, Mr. Chris Kurniawan, distinguished Director of Sales and Logistics of PT Indo Tambang Raya, Mega, Mr. Yusnan Ruslan, distinguished energy market editor, Coal of Southeast Asia, IHS Market, Ms. Diana Putri Alan, distinguished senior research analyst, Coal of China and Taiwan, IHS Market, Ms. Kiara Zong, and of course, distinguished all participants of today's discussion, Ibu dan Bapak semua yang berpartisipasi pada pagi hari ini. Selamat pagi, ni hao, a very good morning to all of you, either in Jakarta or Beijing or maybe other cities around the world. Greetings from Jakarta. Let me first express, of course, my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Indonesian Coal Mining Association for arranging the Indonesian Coal Roundtable Export Series with focus on China market this morning. A lot of interested now in China market, not only in coal sector, but in other sectors as well. I'm delighted to be here with you all today, although through virtually or online video, to share my views in this prestigious event of what I would expect to be a fruitful avenue to bring business from this industry even closer. I believe that this event will make a strong foundation, as already mentioned as well by our Vice Chairman, and enhance the growth of coal trade and at once achieving common development growth and prosperity. Ibu dan Bapak sekalian, distinguished speakers and participants, as you may know that Indonesia and China relations since 2013 have flourished and achieved the highest level of cooperation. We used to be in diplomatic terminology, we call it strategic partner. But since 2013, we elevated to become comprehensive strategic partnerships, meaning that we used to be a friend, now we are sahabat. Dulu kita teman, sekarang kita jadi sahabat. Kita jadi buddy. Because we are sahabat, then there should be a privilege as well, or privilege treatment between us, among sahabat, among very close and dear friends. So between 2014 and 2018, my President Joko Widodo and President Xi Jinping have met at least 7 times. And of course, they've been conducting a telephone conversations as well. Even this year, it's already 2 times. And this year, in fact, Indonesia and China are commemorating the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations. This is the momentum as well for us. Many have been planned, in fact, to celebrate our 70th anniversary. Unfortunately, COVID is coming, but we can sort of celebrate it as well in the other way, maybe through the increase of quota for coal export from Indonesia. Why not? You know, we can explore other cooperation as well. And the bilateral relation of the two countries have embarked on a fast lane of growth in many areas of cooperation, particularly in trade, tourism, and investment. And currently, economic relations have been the outstanding one among all cooperation. The future outlook of two nations projected to become major global players. Of course, in the very near future, economically, China is going to become #1. And we do hope that with the cooperation, close cooperation with China, Indonesia will follow after, maybe Big 5 or Big 6 beyond 2030. Why not? It is indeed this vision of a new regional and global geoeconomic landscape that should be the guidance for governance and broader cooperation beyond the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries. I would like to use the words how we put meat on the 70th anniversary of our bilateral relation. And those meat should be a best qualitative as well as quantitative one that will serve the benefit of two countries. Ibu dan Bapak sekalian, pembicara, distinguished speakers, and participants, Indonesia now is the 8th largest coal producers in the world. It is the largest coal producer, consumer, and exporter in Southeast Asia. Indonesia, of course, is a rich country in natural resources. It continues to be a significant player in the global mining industry with significant production of coal, copper, gold, tin, bauxite, and recently nickel. Indonesia also continues to be one of the world's largest exporters of thermal coal since 2005, so like 15 years ago. Asia is the leading destination for Indonesia's coal exports, accounting for more than 70% of total exports, followed by Europe and America. China, of course, is the first rank of Indonesia's coal export market, which is expected to drive Indonesia's future industry. Indonesia's export of coal to China has seen a steady increase over the last 2 years and has the potential to grow. This is the reason why we are gathering together here to have a discussion how to increase the growth of export of Indonesia coal to China, because we need to celebrate the 70th anniversary, the cooperation is there, the relationship is there, the friendship is there. According to our figure, Indonesia export coal, briquettes, voids, and similar solid fuel manufactured from coal, HS number 2701, and lignite, whether or not agglomerated, excluding jet, HS number 2702. Based on the China custom data, this is based on the China custom data, in this period, Indonesia is the second largest exporter to China for products in HS 2701 and the first largest exporter to China for products in HS 2702. From January to May, Indonesia exported more than 72 million metric tons of coal to China with a total value of $3.5 billion, which increased 15% compared to the total export value from January to May 2019. So I think friends can verify this data as well, because this data we receive from customs, China customs. Ibu dan Bapak sekalian, distinguished speakers and participants, the Indonesian government has a strong commitment to promoting sustainable trade by encouraging an increase in value-added mining products and supporting regulation provide opportunities for establishment of mineral processing and refining plants in Indonesia. In short, I can say that many efforts have been made by my government to support coal trade by creating the proper policies and regulations in Indonesia, supporting promotion, and many more. Indonesia's coal exporters are working hard. We are here all working people or exporters to enrich its market in China. We do hope that China will receive positively the effort by the Indonesian coal exports. They have successfully put all their efforts and mine as well to fulfill the China market by delivering precise quality and right quantity. Indonesia's mineral and coal resources and reserves are still prospective to exploited to be exploited in the future, both in the upstream and in the downstream industry, and required investment to develop the potential on mineral and coal. And of course, as a significant partners in the Indonesian coal trade, Indonesia also expects support from China for investment in clean coal technology development to be applied in Indonesia. Ibu dan Bapak sekalian, distinguished speakers and participants, now we are here in the era of uncertainties, the period where trade liberalization is being challenged, the multilateral system is questioned. To add more is we are in the COVID situation. And the impact of COVID-19 pandemic that requires all stakeholders to think strategically out of the box, innovative, and in line with health protocols to ensure that economic and business movements will continue to run. Therefore, we need to be flexible and adapting to the current conditions to find ways to expand our trade and investment cooperation in the coal mining industry. And I do believe that with the strong background of bilateral relation between Indonesia and China, supported by a rock-solid foundation, despite the cautious global sentiment of 2020, World Economic Order, and the skepticism at the beginning of the year, both Indonesia and China should be very optimistic and embrace a strong determination for a better shared future. Distinguished speakers and participants, Ibu dan Bapak sekalian, peserta maupun pembicara, lastly, I hope this event will boost trade cooperation, promotion, and enhance connectivity in the sector, which will create many new business opportunities for all of us. And of course, as an ambassador in Beijing to China and Mongolia, and Pak Dino as well, Ibu Marina, we are all there to facilitate, to assist you. So please do come and guide us as well in having a better cooperation with China in the coal sectors. Our embassy, it's open. If it's possible, 24 hours. You simply get in touch with us through WhatsApp, through WeChat, etc. Because we can do through that kind of communication as well. And we would like to see that even though this is the difficult time to all of us, the cooperation in the coal sector between two countries is increased substantially as well. So I wish you all a very coal-full gathering and successful roundtable export series. Note the coal-full gathering, this is a joke. We used to say fruitful, but I would like to change to the coal-full gathering with fruitful discussion among all of us. So once again, share. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you very much. Share banyak. And to all my friends from China, you know my name is Djauhari Oratmangun, but I've been adapting Chinese name as well. My Chinese name is Djauhari. Share.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Djauhari Oratmangun, His Excellency, our ambassador to the People's Republic of China and Mongolia. I like the term you said, callful, Pak, yeah? So callful, yeah. So we hope this today webinar is callful. And again, on behalf of Indonesian Coal Mining Associations, we thank the good cooperation that we've been having with the Indonesian Embassy in Beijing. In the past 3 years, we've been very closely communicated with Bu Marina for there. Thank you for your great efforts, and also with Pak Dino. Okay, and Pak Djauhari also has visited our office in the 2018, I guess. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Next is we are going to listen perspective from the analyst. It's from one of the biggest, the most respected company, Data, the research analyst in the coal trade or commodity in the world from IHS Market, and we have the two speakers from IHS Market, Bu Diana Putri Alan and Kiara Zong from Beijing. Yeah, Bu Diana is in Jakarta. Yeah. So, okay, Bu Diana, please, you have 15 minutes. Yeah, the presentation time. Silakan, Bu Diana.
Thank you so much. Terima kasih kepada APBI and the Indonesian Coal Mining Association, His Excellency Pak Djauhari Oratmangun and his colleagues from the Indonesian Embassy in China, Pak Dino and Ibu Marina, and also to Pak Henry Tan, Pak Hendra Sinadia from APBI, and all my other fellow panelists, Professor Su Chuan Rong, Pak Jusnan Ruslan, and Pak Fry Chris Kurniawan. Thank you to the APBI or the ICMA for this very timely webinar on the coal market with a particular focus on China. I'll be presenting jointly with my colleague Kiara Chong, who's based currently in Suzhou in China. I will be giving a very brief overview on global supply and demand, and then Kiara will take over with more deeper insight on China regulations and China coal demand. So I will try and keep it short and sweet with 15 minutes. So global supply and demand, where are we now? So currently we look at thermal coal import demand to contract by about 82 million tons this year. Can I have the slides moving? Yeah, to the next page. Yes, so currently we expect thermal coal import demand to contract by about over 80 million tons this year. In 2019, it was a record year for seaborne thermal coal imports, breaching the 1 billion ton mark. And this year we expect imports to contract to about 960 million tons. So that's a cut of slightly over 80 million tons. And obviously the Indonesian market, Indonesia being the largest exporter of seaborne thermal coal, has naturally been very, very affected with India, mainland China, South Korea, and Southeast Asian consumption down. The one positive though that we see for Indonesian exports is Vietnam, where imports have been soaring, and IHS Market expects Vietnamese coal imports to rise about 12 million tons this year. Next page. So the actual cuts that we are seeing well, compared to at the start of the year, or rather the end of the first quarter, when the pandemic seemed, very likely to worsen and to sort of paralyze the world globally. At that point, there was obviously too much coal in the market, but now we are starting to see that, cuts, year to date, and based on what a lot of producers have started to announce, we're looking at about just close to 70 million tons of coal sort of exports that are coal supply that is being reduced. However, there's still a little bit more to go to hit that over 80 million tons of cuts in coal exports. For Indonesia specifically, we are looking at about over 40 million tons of imports from other countries. And so this would equate to a cut in production of around 50 to 60 million tons from Indonesia. Next. So obviously more tons still need to be incentivized offline, and this explains the continued weak prices that we're seeing in the market. It's been, I think, very nerve-wracking for a lot of producers to just look at the prices slip, but demand has been so weak. I think a lot of the countries that are buying coal or intend to buy coal are not able to take advantage of that at the moment as well, because of the very, very debilitating level of low consumption. Further out though, we see that, long-term seaborne demand, that peak has already occurred last year. If you can see, next page please, sorry. Yeah, so for long-term seaborne demand, we see that peak demand has already occurred. And from here on out, we do see that in the following years, there'll be a slight rise before it plateaus and comes down. This is long-term, but COVID-19 has obviously resulted in this dip that we are seeing in the diagram here. Next page. And this one is a bit more of a longer term view. We do say that there will be growth in the next decade or so, but there will be a decline thereafter. And we we can see that it will be slowly declining. It will take some time. A lot of it will probably have to do with the fact that Indonesia themselves, for example, as a country that's supplying, will be using a lot more of their coal for domestic production. And then there will also be that switch to renewables, so on and so forth, further out. But, you know, there'll still be another good decade of growth. And at this juncture, I'd like to hand over to my colleague, Kiara, who will be giving us more insight on the China market. Next slide, please, and Kiara, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Thanks,
Hi.
Diana, for handing
Hello.
this over to me. Hi. Yeah, I will just start with explanation about the China import quota system. I believe this question was raised by many people. What is a quota system? And I will give some understanding from our collections. Can I have the slides move to next page? Okay, the quota system is to give a cap of the total volume of coal import intake in the year. So this year's import quota was said to be the same as the number in 2017 or 2018 total import actual volume, which was 271 or 281 respectively. So let's take the total target is 271 million ton. As an example, to achieve that target, importers and ports, they were given the quota according to their intake volume in 2017. But of course, there was adjustments based on this year's situation as a demand, you know, in different regions or different market conditions and other elements such as weather, source of power supply, hydro performance, and industrial structure in China have changed over past 3 years. Okay, next page. Can I have the slides move to the next page? Yeah. First of all, we have to address the question that why China is control imports, coal import volume. Because first of all, it's for energy security. The government would like to reduce dependence on import coal in general and reduce the influence of import coal to China's domestic coal market. Because in past years, it happened that when the import volume changes and the domestic market was affected. And secondly, the import coal is a supplement for the domestic market. Having control of the import volume at the peak and the low period could stabilize the domestic market, and the government is trying to use this as a tool to optimize the overall economic performance. Also, for government, they need to protect the domestic coal industry because the coal mining industry in China is also very big. It's kind of one of the biggest industry linked to many job securities for a large population. And GDPs, it's also a GDP driver for many regions in North China and coal producing provinces. For people who ask question why the government don't allow the power generator to take more cost-effective import coal to benefit the economy, the answer is the government have to secure the jobs of the many many people works for the coal mining sectors. It's millions of people, and in this population size, it's much bigger than the power sector. So it's kind of the priority of the market when the coal price is down. Okay, next slide. Yeah, we can know that the quota system didn't run very successfully in previous years because the actual volume of intake was always higher than the target, and the government have to impose a near ban at the end of the year, which impacts the market price very much and it left the problem that in every year, quarter one, the customs always clearing the backlogs from the previous year. So the custom data of the import wasn't very accurate for the first few months of the year. And it's kind of an issue happening for past a few years. There were some practices in the quota system in the previous years was found that caused the failure of the control. First of all, the non-local custom clearance. Actually, it is a good way to quote. It is a way to cope with issues that the demand will change in different regions for each year. So in a group level, in the group level, or the end users who has increased the consumption in certain regions, they may use a quota in other regions to clear customs. But it creates the problem that if the government allows that, it's very hard to track and control. So there could be some duplications in quota using, and when there was some duplicated declaration of customs in different places, which caused there was exceeded volume of intakes each year. And there was another issue that some end users, they deplete their quota very early in each year, and they try to apply for additional quota in the peak seasons, because they say that, okay, we are short of coal supply and we are power plants, we need to generate power. Then this causes an issue each year, and it happens, it causes a problem as well. And for this year, there was additional rules to which was implemented to have a better control of the quota system and total intake volume. So first of all, they have kind of banned the non-local custom clearance, and it started very early this year. In past years, there was a control of the non-local custom clearance in the second half of the year, but this year it started almost at the beginning of the year. And also the government tried to allocate the quota to different levels, which means to province level, then the province level allocate to different regions, to different ports. And for group levels, they allocate to the quota, import quota to different regional companies, and the regional companies allocate the quota to different power plants. So each level have a number to follow. Then it's easier for the authority to find where is the problem, who have took more coal than they should be. Then also the buyers or ports have break down the quota into quarterly or monthly based on the demand on season, or to even out the usage of coal and the usage of import quota. And NDRC also encouraged that to even out the import quota to stabilize the price as well. Okay, next slide. Then why the import control happened much earlier this year, and everybody felt it's so early, then almost the import control has been so tight. And to be in short, that's because of the import of actual volume in the first half of the year has went to too high. We can see from the chart here that the total import volume so far this year, to compare with year 2017, is more than 30% higher. And with the impact of COVID-19, China's GDP, especially some export-dependent industry, was badly impacted. So for the country level, with very limited income, the government have to give priority to things they have to import. And the coal is kind of, they can supply from the domestic market. So it's kind of, they have to have a tighter control on coal import volume this year. Next slide. This is a detailed timeline of the China's import control this year. So the slides will be distributed after the presentation, and you can have a detailed read about the timeline of this year. Next slide. Yeah, then this slide tells us that the government's action in China did impact the coal price, and since it started the control in June and July, the price have went down and stabilized in the yellow circle there. Next slide. Yeah, this chart tells us CFR price in China, and with the control, we can see the CFR price have went down also. And for the figures, you can read when the slides were distributed later on. Okay, can we have the slides move to the next two slides? Yeah, this is also the similar numbers, and it's a curve that shows the control have impact on price, and the China's coal consumption have recovered over the period, but it was still lower than the previous years. But the power consumption has catch up, and it's almost came back to the level in 2019. Next slide. Okay, many people is asking, recently they were saying that more additional quota will be given to Indonesia and Australian and other import coal because the domestic price has rise to sky high, and it's over the red zone, which was above 600 RMB. Is that possible? To address that question, actually NDRC have held a very closed door meeting on 9th of July. Tells us that the conclusion the domestic price was rising, but the relaxation of import control was not likely to be very soon. The NDRC has said the recent domestic coal price surge was not a result of import coal control only. It's a result of multiple reasons. We can know that some coal producing regions in China, they have implemented policies to cut or control the production after there was oversupply in Q1 due to the COVID-19. And secondly, the loss in hydropower generation this year has created additional demand equivalent to 8 million tons of coal consumption over the summer period, based on the NDRC's estimation. So for the above reasons, NDRC has said that the domestic coal supply was tightened, and to stabilize the price, the priority is given to improve domestic supply before other methods. But last not least, NDRC also mentioned, so if there's still tightness or shortage of supply during the peak period, next period will be most probably before the winter period, then more quota could be given. So this is kind of a chance for the market players to take and to predict the market when will be the next high wave of coal intake volume for China. Okay, that's all from my side. I will hand it back to my colleague Diana. Thank you.
Thanks, Kara. Thanks, Kara, for sharing your thoughts with us. I just want to end with a final slide. Next slide, please, which is to share just a basic outlook of near-term coal prices. IHS market, we have our M series of prices, And we see here that for low-rank and subbituminous prices, here, if you look at the dotted line, what we're sharing is the forward price, which is where buyers, sellers are willing, the price that they are willing to pay for the month. And then we can see there's a slight lag because we have seen growth over the past week of where people are willing to pay moving forward. But because our curve is updated every quarter, there's a slight lag here. But we do see there is an upward trend to be expected in the months to come and further out into 2021. And with that, we close our presentation. Kiara and I are happy to take questions later during the roundtable session. Thank you, everybody. And these slides will be available to all of you after the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Bu Diana, Kiara Zong from IHS Markit for the very insightful and callful presentation. Yeah. So we will get back to you later on the Q&A sessions. There are some questions addressed to IHS Markit from the audience. Okay, next we're going to listen the presentation from Professor Su Chuanrong from China National Coal Association atau counterpart APBI, APBI-nya China ya. Professor Su Chuanrong is the National Director of the CNCA, and also she's serving as a Secretary General of the Technology Committee of the World Coal Associations. And Professor Su also sits in the Secretary General of the Coal Committee of the World Mining Congress. So Professor Su from joining us from Beijing, the time is yours. You have 8 minutes, Professor Su.
Thank you, Hendra. Distinguished Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my pleasure to attend today's meeting. As you know, China is the largest As you know, China is the largest coal producer. Last year, produced 3.85 billion tons of coal, accounting for almost 50% of world total. China is also the largest coal importer and imported about 300 million tons of coal in 2019. 5 major coal exported to China are Indonesia, Australia, Mongolia, Russia, and the Philippines. Indonesia is the largest coal exported to China. Last year, Indonesia exported 138 million tons coal to China, accounting for 46% of total value. This is a brief introduction of last year. Please next slide. Please next. Today, I will be focused on this year because this year is very special. In the first half of 2020, Chinese coal production released 1.8 billion tons. Imported coal increased up 13% to 174 million tons. First, I will be introduced, COVID-19 influence of Chinese coal market. This year, the first half year, obviously mismatched happened between coal supply and demand in first half. Coal price just like the roller coaster, up, down, and up. Now I explain it from the 3 stages. The first stage from January to middle February. Coal supply reduced and the price increased. With the safety inspection on major coal region at the end of last year. Also outbreak of the COVID-19 in Spring Festival. Domestic coal supply reduced sharply, even though imported coal increased. That cost price is up from 440 yuan to 570 yuan per ton. The second stage was from the middle February to April. coal supply increased, demand decreased sharply, and the price began to fall until bottom. Since mid-February, domestic coal enterprise are ready to recover the production. In March, output was up 10%, but in the same period, coal-related downstream industry recovered very slowly. From March to April, power consumption was down 4%. The international demand reduced in landslide with the COVID-19 global outbreak. More coal export rushed to China market. You can imagine all companies reduced the coal price for more sales. Coal price was lower than the long-term contract, even was lower than cost. Third stage started from May until now. Coal demand is up and the price increased. Because of the low price in April, Chinese domestic coal output reduced to 310 million tons, and the coal import fell to 22 million tons. Actually, with the effective control of COVID-19 in China and the stimulus policy of local government, the power demand increased. Since that June, the summer comes with peak level. It led to coal price up rapidly, close to 6 yuan per ton. Overall, the coal price fell 68 yuan per ton on the year in the first half, but China's coal imports were up 30% to 174 million tons. Indonesia and Australia are two major coal importers, and the coal imported from Indonesia is above 85 million tons in first half. Price gap between domestic and import has expanded. Coal import increased significantly. Thermal coal and coking coal have the largest import increasement. Now I introduce opportunities of import from the 4 points. First, China will be security, stable economic development. It is expected that China GDP growth will be kept 4 or 5% in second half, and the coal consumption will be increased. Annual power consumption will be increased by 2%. Secondly, imported coal has the price advantage. The normal Indonesia coal price is 10 to 15 US dollar per ton, lower than
I think
Yeah.
Professor Su
Yeah.
having a little
Yeah.
bit network
Connection.
problem. Yeah.
Okay, why don't you continue the slides? Yeah.
Sure.
Can we move the slides, Budia? Hello, Professor Su, yeah. seems that you're having trouble in the connections. We cannot hear your voice. Halo, Bu Dea.
Yes, Pak.
Ya, tolong di remind lagi.
Sure. I'm contacting her through WhatsApp now. Just checking.
Oke, mohon maaf peserta webinar nih ada gangguan koneksi dari Profesor Su di Beijing. Kita akan coba. Okay, how many slides from Professor Su left? Ada berapa slide lagi, Bu Gita?
This is actually the last slide, Pak Hendra. Should we just like continue to the next panelist to speak?
Yeah, while
waiting
talking,
for Professor Su to come back? Sure.
Okay, so please do call the Madam Su ya to inform.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much for the presentation. I'm really sorry ada gangguan koneksi dari Profesor Su Chuanrong, tapi mudah-mudahan nanti akan kembali restore lagi. Okay, the next panelist, we're going to listen the perspective from coal exporters and coal traders ya. Pertama kita beri kesempatan buat Pak Yusnan, Mr. Yusnan from Indo Tambang Megaraya, one of the biggest coal producers in Indonesia, produce more than 23 million maybe, yeah, if correct me if I'm mistaken, in the 2019, and he is overseeing the marketing and logistics of Director of Marketing and Logistics of ITMG. Pak Yusnan, waktunya agak singkat, please 5 menit mungkin. Ya, monggo Pak.
Terima kasih Pak Hendra. Yang saya hormati Pak Dubes beserta jajarannya. Yang saya hormati juga rekan-rekan di APBI dan semua coal industry. Yang saya hormati juga Ibu Diana, Miss Kiara, and Professor Su. Yeah. Okay, I would like to present from the producer side that we see that Indonesia is a very strategic country and is closer to the country that are consuming coal as the base for the power generating. There are two major points that I can see from. One is on the commercial side, and the second is on the policy. On the commercial side, we already hear from the earlier presentation, the demand from China is still there. The economic still growth, even in the first quarter is dropped due to the pandemic of COVID-19, but the second quarter already moving back to plus 3.2, and expect from the current figure, the second half, the economy also will going positive as well. Even though in average, the growth is lower than 2019. However, the need of the energy and consumption, if we see from the figure in the June already back to similar to the year before, and even the import of the coal in the first half 2020 2020 already over than 2019 as well. So this is actually so the positive to the coal industry. Yep. Well, domestic price also quite high. It means that import product is very competitive if we see from the commercial point of view. The next is on the supply. Yeah, as also presented earlier, that ISS expect that the cut of production in 2020 is around 80 million. While in the first half 2020, the supply is still not as the speed as not as expected to the annualized 82 million. We may see that Indonesia production in the first 6 months dropped only around 20 million. And other supply country seem much less than the expectation, but of course we see the same pattern on the supply country, mostly in the downward trend on the production in order to matching the demand lower during the pandemic period. Yeah. Then what will be the issue when we see that the demand is still there and the price also for Indonesia is competitive? The key is on the policy. Yeah. How the importing country to conduct the policy to balancing the country economy. In this point, we see from Professor Su is how to protect the meaning of the industry in this point. And definitely, even though the domestic price is high compared to import, that is when the policy is being guided, then the commercial point become less concern. Yeah, but I still see that China will open the import again, but the timing is when. Also already presented by ISS earlier as well. It's not easy to predict when China will be open again, but I think it will be there in August, even though now seem less likely to be open in June, in July, but we still see that the movement is very fast. The China take the decision and the policy is very fast and apply immediately. So I still see the opportunity to the industry is still there, and as far as we can also control in Indonesia and control the production in order the supply is not too much oversupply to the market and impact to the industry, because if oversupply, definitely it will also kill the industry as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is
Yeah.
become the key for us to review by ourselves as Indonesia. We are one of the biggest even one of the biggest exporting country and producing producing country in the Asia. So I think we have to know how is our value of the reserve, and also to balancing the industry, the trade balance as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Jusnan, for your point of view. There is still the optimism for the Indonesian coal exporter, and the question is timing. Yeah, so in the second half of the year is very critical. Okay, next, the last panelist, I would like to hear the overview from the coal traders, from Pak Fry Chris of the Trafigura. He's represented by Bob Kamandanu, who cannot join us today. Pak Fry from Trafigura, please. Your time is very limited as also. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak. First of all, I would like to say thanks APBI for the arrangement and choosing a very important topic, especially on China market. And salam hormat untuk KBRI sama timnya, sama teman-teman panelis dan peserta. So I will just cut it short and then just go into the main points on this discussion. From the exporter point of view, I share the same view with Pak Jusnan. Although it is a very bearish market, but the current domestic pricing, which touches almost 600 RMB in China, is presenting a huge opportunity for Indonesian coal. Why I say that is because the spread right now importing Indonesian coal versus domestic is more than $17. Like what has been mentioned by Professor Su, the spread is usually below 13, and then now we are closing even 20 to 25. So this will be a good opportunity for us in selling more coal to China. But of course, quota is the big question here. We feel quota will not be released anytime soon. And even if it is going to be released, it's going to be happen in September or October, like very end of the year. And that means in this couple of months, we see the market is going sideways. Price will not be very volatile. And even after the release of quota, you won't see much like increase in terms of price, because China government will still impose the restriction and quota in importing the coal. And the big things is on this importing coal, we see that in Q3, normally China power plant and then also the buyer will do the winter restocking again. So we should be optimistic in this market, and we feel that we should see some of the price movement, especially in September or October. Yeah, that's all on my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Fry Chris Kurniawan from Trafigura for your overview. Okay, before we give the opportunity to Pak Dubes and our friends in Indonesia Embassy in Beijing to give comments or additional information or update, we're glad to have Professor Su already in the webinar. She lost the connection now, but she needs to finish a couple of slides that have not presented. So, okay, we give time to Professor Su. Are you joining again? Hello, Budaya.
Yes, Pak. Yeah, she's here.
Okay, please let her know that. Yeah. Hello. Does the slide need to be displayed or shared?
Yes, we're sharing the slides now.
Okay, so Professor Su is with us already. Yeah. Hello. Apparently there is trouble in the connection again. Hello. Hello, Professor Su. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's not too clear. But I think yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah,
Now
it's
I'll
better.
continue the presentation.
Oh yeah, please.
Okay. I analyze the challenge of the coal import from the 4 points. Firstly, increase the domestic coal capacity. The newly increased advanced capacity will be released above the 150 million tons this year. Secondly, the performance of long-term contract will be strengthened. Long-term contract is the stabilizer of the coal market. Relevant, the government will be inspect and evaluate the performance of long-term contract this year. The market coal purchase will be reduced. Thirdly, high coal storage. China's coal stock has kept high level, sufficient to provide over 20 days consumption, which will have impact on imported coal. Fourthly, increase the land transportative capacity. Haji Railway has shipped 9.7 million tons coal by the end of May. Influenced by the Haji Railway, the coal demand began to decrease, transported from the coast to Yangtze River area in first half this year. With improvement of infrastructure, it is expected Haji Railway will be transported 25 million tons coal from this year. According to above the analysis of the challenges and opportunities, I think coal import still have good future in second half. It is estimated that China coal imports will be between 100 and 130 million tons in the second half. For Indonesia, around 50 to 60 million tons of coal will be imported. Today, I will be talking is my personal opinion. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Su Chuanrong, for the very informative updates that you presented. The last 2 slides were very important for us. Yeah, you talk about the increased domestic coal supply capacity, also the performance of medium and long-term contract, high coal storage, and also increased transport capacity. Those are very important information that we need to assess regarding the potential coal import from China, which you reiterated that the potential is there. So we hope this will be materialized. Okay, Bu Gita dan Bu Dea, we still have, although it's almost close to 11:30, but I think due to the demands from the audience, there are some questions. We like to continue the discussion, at the latest 12, in the noon. So because this is the roundtable, we, in addition to taking questions from the audience, we also encourage the discussion among the panelists. So first, I'd like to give opportunity to Pak Dubes atau teman-teman di Indonesian Embassy to give comments or maybe want to ask something or need to clarify some issue that have been presented by all other speakers. Okay, Pak Dubes, mungkin?
Yes, thank you very much. Because I have to leave now, so
okay.
I think Pak Dino and Bu Marina will participating during the discussion, but thank you very much for the presentations. Based on the presentation that I heard so far, of course, we have to do a lot of things, but the future is still there. The future is still there for coal cooperation or coal sales from Indonesia. export from Indonesia to China. So we do hope that all major stakeholders in China, in particular my dear friend Secretary General, will facilitate as well the intention of the Indonesian coal exporters to enter the market of China or to increase our market share in China. So once again, thank you very much. Let's start the discussion, and Pak Dino as well as Bu Marina will participate fully during the discussion. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, terima kasih Pak Dubes. Salam sehat selalu. Thank you Pak, terima kasih.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oke, so Pak Dino dan Bu Marina dari KBRI Beijing ya, ada yang mau ditambahkan atau mungkin mau diklarifikasi ke other speakers, silakan.
Ya. Terima kasih sekali lagi. Mungkin justru kami sebagai pendengar yang baik tadi sudah disampaikan sama Pak Dubes. Di sini kami ingin mendengar lebih banyak lagi dari teman-teman asosiasi para eksportir. Memang momentumnya tahun ini kita 70 tahun hubungan bilateral. Mungkin Bapak dan Ibu bisa menggunakan itu sebagai platform politik untuk kedepankan lagi kepentingannya kita dalam melakukan perdagangan dengan Tiongkok. Bagi kita di KBRI, tentu saja tugasnya kita adalah meningkatkan neraca perdagangan, tapi dalam meningkatkan neraca perdagangan di sini tentu saja perimbangannya juga harus semakin mendekati berimbang. Dengan demikian, coal ini adalah salah satu produk andalannya kita. Mudah-mudahan coal bisa menjadi salah satu faktor perimbangan neraca perdagangan tadi. Kemudian demikian, terima kasih atas kesempatannya. Dan kami siap untuk mendengarkan berbagai macam isu atau masalah yang sedang dihadapi oleh Bapak dan Ibu. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Dino. Pak Dino is Deputy Chief of Mission ya Pak ya, of Indonesian Embassy in Beijing. Thank you for your comments. Okay, as Pak Dino mentioned that this year marks 17th anniversary of Indonesian-China diplomatic relation, though diplomatic way, we can take this momentum to strengthening our cooperation that practically we need the cooperation from the Chinese government to allow more import from Indonesia. Okay, thank you. There are some questions that addressed by the audience. The first question I'd like to take from, of course, we cannot take all the question because the time constraints ya, Bu Dia dan Bu Gita ya, kita mungkin nggak bisa ambil semua. Nah, mungkin pertama, very interesting question from Pak Kris ya, Pak Kristiono from Medco Mining. Question is, Indonesia exporting coal to China dominate market share to close to 60%. Indonesia should have a privileged and strong position. Why it's not the case? Okay, I'd like to listen the view from Madam Su, yeah, Professor Su Chandrong, from the Chinese miners' perspective of the questions. And later on, Pak Henry Tamrin maybe would like to add on the question. Hello. Professor Su. Halo. Oh, mungkin ini ya.
Yeah, I think there's.
Ya, oke.
Oh,
Pak Henry, mungkin Pak Henry bisa bukan menanggapi, mungkin memberi apa comments on the questions. Indonesia is a import consisted of 60% of the total Chinese coal import, thermal coal, but Indonesia should have privilege, but why is not the case? That's mungkin curhat dari eksporter, kira-kira gimana?
I'll say that because of the 60%, then that's also the problem. Actually, because the reliance of Indonesian coal export is very much rely on China import. That's the pretty much cost of the problem. If you look at Indonesian export, last year we export 440 million tons of coal, but these 440 million tons of coal is only about 8% of the China consumption. So if China suddenly consumption's portfolio or profile change of 1 or 2%, the impact is huge. It's 40 to 80 million tons of coal. And because in Indonesian producers got a sudden hit, so it takes, I would say, several months, few months, up to a year time for the producers to give a response to the drop in demand. I think that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you Pak Henry Tamrin for your comment. Okay, the next question ini dari sorry. Oke, ini dari Pak Stevi ya, dari Pak Stevi Darmadi. The question addressed to Miss Kiara Zong ya. Thanks for your explanation on import quota. He question on the quota, import quota ya. Is it the COVID thing still impacted to China coal import demand quota or the policy quota itself? And how is your prediction forecast about coal demand and price until end of 2020, especially from China? And also the same question for the 2021. Yeah, Ms. Kiara Song.
Yes, thanks for the question. And as I have mentioned, the COVID-19 is impact in the way it's not about the coal demand. It's the coal demand, the power consumption in China has almost recovered to the level compared to last year, the same period. But however, there was a question that whether China have export enough to have income. So actually, many of the industry in China was impacted by the global COVID-19 situation, that the China's export was very bad. So the income for the whole country has reduced largely for this year. So this year, where the government will give priority to things they have to spend on the foreign currency and the income this year. So this kind of a reason that government will have strict control on the quota this year because their income have reduced.
Okay, thanks. Oh, sorry. Please go on.
Yeah. Then the second half of the question is about the prediction. I think there was hope for the quota to be released, additional quota. Definitely there will be additional import in the second half of the year before the winter peak comes, but we can't predict when it is, and we have to take closely of the monitor the market and see how the price moves.
Okay, then still relating to the quota is another question on the quota. Now is coming from Pak Isariadi. So what is he's asking about the import quota. Is China government limiting import quota based on volume or economic value?
It's based on volume. The quota will be carried out based on volume, but definitely the value of the import will definitely takes a part when the government to judge whether they will give additional quota. If the value of the value of the imports have reduced this year, then definitely they will consider there was possibility they can increase some quota.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, it's based on volume. Based on volume. Yeah.
Okay, it's thank you for the clarification. Now it's to Bu Diana, yeah, Bu Diana.
Yes. Sure.
There is a question from the participant that what percentage of Indonesian coal miners currently are producing below their cash cost given the low prices?
That question is for ICMA to answer, I think.
Now later on, Pak Henry will respond.
Pak Henry will answer that, but I think we can say, safely hand on our heart that most of the miners that we've spoken to have said that, current price levels are below their cost. And, even when we see these movements that have gone from $23, $24 in May going up to $28, $29, even with these spikes, it's still much lower than where we've seen coal prices all of last year and all of many years prior. And so I think it's fair to say that most miners are currently producing at, these prices are below cost for most miners.
Oke, thank you. Nah, Pak Henry, do you have any comment? Nanti Pak Yusnan mungkin bisa menambahkan komentarnya terkait dengan pertanyaan ini. Ya, silakan Pak Henry.
From our observation with regards to the production cost compared to the selling price, right? Let's pick an example for 4,200 GAR product, which is very popular into China. They call it 3,800 NAR. Price today is like $25. Yep, maybe plus minus $1 because of some premium goes to bigger producers, reputable supplier. Minus goes to like, yeah, with some discount goes to less reliable and so on. But from our observation, actually, once the price dropped below $30, right? Actually, that would not be sustainable. But of course, for short term, because of COVID-19, because we have some support from fuel price that has dropped last few months ago, and of course, just looking at the cash cost without thinking of payment of the interest, amortization, and depreciation. So yes, for below $30, some producers would try to survive. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's on survival mode. So at $25 is not sustainable. I would say majority of producers are losing money, right? In between 25, 27 to 25, 27, maybe half, maybe $27 to $30, right? Would be less, but overall, to see a sustainable reserve, sustainable coal supply from Indonesia for, let's say, for the next 5 years span, I would say, yeah, the price need to go above $30. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Henry. Pak Jusnan, do you have a view on this issue?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Hendra. Yeah, I think the cost is very variable between one to another producer, but we may see from the last several years, the study is the cost, as Pak Henry already mentioned, about $30 as a base from the past several years study. And from the fuel, maybe with the current fuel price, will get advantage to the cost around 10%. Yeah. Then between also depend on the location of the mine and also the stripping ratio. All is around that range. While the current price even going down deep to 22, 23 for some period, this is already make the most of the mine already not in competitive, but while the production still there, because in the average of the first 6 months, the ASP still at the quite manageable level, but for the small coal mining and the one that produce low CV coal, that is will be get the big impact because of the value of the coal itself. Equivalent is very low. If we see from, say, for example, 3-4 GR at the current index, that equivalent to the to the 5,500 NAR level, for example, that is much lower than compared to the other higher CV. Also 42 GR as well. So these two products is mostly impacted by this current market, and also these two products also mostly imported by China and India market as well. So while the India is gone and China also cut the import, then these two products get a hard impact. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Yusnan. Before I give the opportunity for those who raise hand, I'd like to address the next question to Pak Fry. Are you there, Pak Fry? Yeah, Pak Fry?
Yes, Pak.
Yeah, there is a question, a very simple one. How can a newcomers, coal traders, penetrate Chinese market since China still have a great appetite for coal import? Yeah, he wants the sharing from your experience.
I guess if it is for new traders, it will be tough. Even for big traders like us, our competitors, Glencore, Alpha, and the others, it's very tough to penetrate China market. When they buy coal right now, you need to sell basis renminbi currency. And most of the trade right now is being done through Chinese traders. So if we want to penetrate directly to China market, it will be really tough. That's my point of view.
Okay, thank you. Udea, is Professor Su is joining us sekarang? Mas sudah bergabung atau gimana?
Sudah bergabung, Pak. Ada 2 account. Professor Su.
Alright, Professor Su. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. There is a question that maybe is addressed to your side. Yeah. Okay. Question from Pak Reza. With the discovery of renewable energy and the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, what is the outlook for coal prices, demand and supply in the industry? Oh, maybe yeah. Especially with regard to China, yeah. Demand and supply in China, maybe with the discovery of renewable energy.
Okay, I think we just made the standard, the green zone for the coal price from the 530 to 507. This is a very reasonable price.
Okay.
This is according to Chinese market and the from the demand and the supply. So if we over this green rule, maybe we can import coal from the Indonesia more. This is I think the second half of the price maybe keep stable because we have the several measures we have already began. Do you hear my voice? I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Professor Su. We'll get back to you again. Okay, with the next question. Bu Dea, is there anybody who's raised hands?
Yeah, there's actually one person, Pak Michael Sandromanik, who already raised his hand. So we already allowed you to talk, so you can.
Yeah, very quick.
You can unmute yourself, Pak Michael.
Pak Michael, very quick and 1 questions only, please, because we still have several questions. Okay, Pak Michael. Hello. Hello. Okay, we cannot hear you, Pak Michael. Bu Dea, gimana? Should we move? Yeah.
Ahendra, do you mind if I make some comments?
Sure. Yeah.
Just looking at, there was a whole bunch of questions, and I think maybe
you can address. Yeah, there are some questions addressed to us directly. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them have to do with prices and know how confident we are that these prices are going to go up and things like that. I think the problem with sort of any confidence level we have is that a lot of it is based on the political situation, and that's very difficult to guess. So if we are looking purely on a supply-demand basis, we would be very confident that prices will recover. But the political constraints is what is not making it easy, and it makes it very difficult to forecast. So if China was, say, open to imports unconstrained, prices could rise relatively strong. But then, you know, we cannot second guess Chinese import policy because they're dealing with it from many different angles. And as my colleague had pointed out earlier, you know, there's a sense of wanting to save, for example, mining workers, for example, in the country and things like that. And also to look at this COVID-19 situation globally, because even if China recovers and the rest of the world has yet to recover, that's going to in a way impact China's recovery as well. So it's another thing we have to understand about the import quota policy is that it has proven to be fluid and changeable. The import quota system is not new. China has been doing this for many years, and every year it tries to, in a way, adjust it because, you know, if it failed in 2017, it didn't reach the standard or the result it wants. In 2018, it makes adjustments. In 2019, it makes adjustments. And this year, it's making adjustments as well, starting so early in the year. And the thing to really note is the fact that as China does this, it means that buying long-term is going to be very difficult. Selling long-term is going to be very difficult. Volatility is definitely going to increase. And, you know, Indonesia probably has to rethink how it's going to produce moving forward, because clearly planning to produce to China peak is not going to put it at an advantage given the increased volatility in the coal market.
Okay, thank you, Bu Diana. I think you have covered a couple of questions that have been asked by the participants. Okay, Bu Dea, who's Pak Michael? Is it already? Hello?
Yeah, I already allowed him to talk. So, Pak Michael, you can unmute yourself and start talking and address your question, please. Pak Michael?
Okay, belum bisa terhubung ya. Oke, mungkin kita move to ini ya, because the time is we still have less than 10 minutes ya, before 12 ya.
Yeah, Pak. Maybe we should just
maybe
move.
Okay. All right. Okay. There is a couple of questions. Okay. All right. Okay, Pak Henry mungkin ya. How is your very general questions, very quick response that we need from you. How is your strategy facing challenges, opportunity to improve coal mining industry in Indonesia?
Hi, yeah. I think we really need to go back to very basic things, right? Try to be competitive in the world of coal. That you know, we are not a single player alone, so we really need to be very competitive in our production costs. And by saying that, then we have to be very efficient in every sectors, in transportation, in the coal mining itself. And so far, reliance on you know, material heavy equipments from imported products is also create some burden to and you know were to note as well the exchange rate and so on. So in the future as well, we need to look at the cost of fund, right? Because it's not easy to get a funding now from banks to support the mining industry. I think that's my comment. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Henry. Pak Yusnan, very quick, your comment on this.
Yeah, thank you, Pak. in general, Indonesia have to be competitive compared to other country, exporting country. On the specific of company, I think we have to manage the balance of our market share. We cannot just depend on one country. Besides of already mentioned by Pak Henry about the cost and other strategy, but if we depend on the one bucket, then when there is a like we mostly there are some company that I know that are depend on the China or India. Then this two market is gone or just suspend temporarily. Then they are really in the difficulty situation. So we have to manage the market.
Okay, thank you, Pak Jusnan. Before we close, Pak Fry, do you have any comment or your view on the second half? What will be your projections?
I think on the second half, as what I have mentioned earlier, we need to look at the month in September or October, whereas the current July and August, the price is going to be sideways. Yeah, there won't be much movement due to the import quota. If the import quota has been relaxed by the Chinese government, then there will be some movement on the pricing. However, it will be really limited. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Pak Fry. Professor Su, are you still joining us? Hello.
Hi.
Okay, do you have any closing remarks you want to share with us before we close our today's sessions?
Okay, thank you, everybody. I still have the confidence in the next future coal market.
Oh, okay. So it's a very positive point of view from Chinese coal miners, yeah, as represented by Professor Su. Okay, thank you, Professor Su. And Bu Diana, very quick, do you have, or Madam Kiara, before we close?
Yeah, I think, in general, Indonesia, obviously for the first half has done well in that sense to reduce its production based on the official government figures. And if it continues at that pace, it would at least try to counter the oversupply situation. But, it would be good, I think, even when the opportunity to sell into China comes about, because as Pak Henry very rightly pointed out, Indonesia has so many players. It is one country, but it doesn't function as a single player entering a market. And, I think the way in which the government and the miners decide to produce moving forward, this is going to be a real question for Indonesian miners. Perhaps not to be too excited to produce just when there's a little bit of buying and then risk getting into that oversupply mode again. Kiara, any thoughts?
Yeah, I do agree with Diana that there was, when the opportunity comes, if the country can play as a whole player, as Indonesia, to enter China market, and the price become united, and so the supply becomes stable, and the two countries, they could have better negotiation, and the price will be good for both sides. Yeah, I do agree with what Diana has said.
Okay, thank you. Pak Henry, you are the last ini. Kasih mungkin komentar menanggapi mengenai menyikapi wrap up Pak Henry as
yeah. No, I don't want to wrap up. It is a very broad discussion. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this webinar, and for sure, what your comments, your really would be a good comment to strengthen the Indonesian coal industry, and we believe that the relationship and we can contribute to the growth of economy in both countries between Indonesia and China. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pak Henry Tamrin, Vice Chairman of Indonesian Coal Mining Association, Overseeing Marketing and Logistics, and all the panelists. Thank you very much. Bu Dea, silakan untuk di ini. Any poll that you'd like to announce?
I think we're just going to wrap up the today's session, Pak.
Oh yeah, we're now close to.
Yeah, we're like 4 minutes away, so we're just gonna close the session.
Okay, thank you very much ya.
Yeah, Pak. Thank you so much, Pak Hendra. Thank you juga to all of our speakers for such wonderful discussion. I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. Sekali lagi, sebelum menutup webinar ini, saya ingin menginfokan bahwa Indonesian Coal Roundtable adalah webinar regular persembahan dari APBI Learning Center. Dan today's webinar, again, it's a wrap-up for our export series this month, but we still have lots of interesting discussions for different other series in store for you guys next month. So, sekali lagi terima kasih juga untuk all of our wonderful audiences for joining us today and for sending us all those powerful questions. I just would like to say, please stay tuned to our social medias, Instagram at APBI-ICMA and our website, www.apbi-icma.org to get the latest updates on our webinar series. Oke, untuk materi paparan akan kami kirimkan ke email yang digunakan untuk registrasi untuk acara hari ini. Jadi terima kasih, atas kurang lebihnya saya mohon maaf. Sampai bertemu lagi di webinar berikutnya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Professor Su, thank you very much for joining. Ya, Bu Diana, Kiara Zong, Pak Dino dan Bu Marina di Beijing, teman-teman Pak Jusna, Pak Prai. Terima kasih banyak Pak Henry.
Terima kasih.
Ya,
Terima kasih semuanya.
Terima kasih. See. Thank you Bu Dea, Bu Gita ya dari Sekretariat APBI. Thank you. Terima kasih. Have a nice lunch. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
这个在网上